RTC, 89.1 RTC.
Welcome to Financially Speaking. I'm your host, Drax Wilson. I'm sorry about the late start. We had some technical difficulties, so I apologize about that. So here we are, the last day of September, September 30th. I'm sorry I'm laughing with the tech from the back got me laughing, so sorry about that. But thank you for tuning in, and we've come 9 months already in 2025, and now tomorrow will be the beginning of the 10th month in 2025. And of course, if you those who've been watching the parliamentary, there was a presentation to Parliament on amendment to the business license, and there's been mixed reviews about it, of course. And so our Minister E.J. Saunders presented that to the House. So I thought, let's meet to discuss this amendment for clarity. It has not been passed yet. It is my understanding it will be presented again sometime in October. But I think it's important for us to understand more about this business license amendment. And with that said, I want to welcome the former co-host, Mr. Honorable E.J. Saunders, to Financially Speaking.
Thank you, Drax. Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back on this show.
Yes. Thank you. How are things with you so far?
Things are going well. It's a new ministry. It's a brand new ministry. My ministry, it's the Ministry of Innovation, Technology, and Energy. I think sometimes people, because when we started out, it had a different name. But it's going well. It's been 8 months since we've been in, and it's taking, it's getting set up. And it's taking some while to fill in the last little bit of pieces, but we're well on our way.
So when do you think we will find out? When do you think we'll have our major first project from the ministry coming out on stream?
I know when you're talking about specifically IT, I was going to say.
Yeah, IT, sorry.
I think I truly believe that our first one was the stuff that we are doing with the World Bank and Coursera around the free online courses.
Oh, yes.
So the online learning, where we originally won 500 free courses that came right through our ministry, and then the World Bank gave us 100 additional licenses.
And people are using it?
People are using it.
It's for civil service only, right?
No, it's for the entire Turks and Caicos. You can sign up and do a free course if you want.
Well, I thought it was only for civil service.
No, it's right across. So the civil service are taking good advantage of it. The Hotel and Tourism Association are taking a good advantage, meaning that persons who would fall under the hospitality sector, they're taking good thing of it. I think we've got maybe 3 or 4 high school students who are doing it. They've got some students at the community college.
Okay.
And so that's going well. But the other big one I'm quite excited about is the Quick Pay.
Yeah.
I think that's the working name. I think it's going to be called ePay. That's why I showed all the marketing material. And the marketing is all ready to do. There was one technical issue around one of the third-party suppliers around the payment processing portion that they were updating their software, so that pushed us back a bit, but we were on track to launch the week of the 22nd, which would have been last week. And so we're very close, so don't be surprised that one Friday in the very near future you wake up and you see there's no more lines at Treasury because people are clicking and not queuing.
So that's very good. I'm good to hear. And not only a Treasury, right? It will be.
Well, you'll be able to pay. The reason why I say Treasury is because most times when you get a government receipt, you'll go down to Treasury to pay it. And so there'll be no longer any reason to go to Treasury to pay government receipts.
Okay, so sometime in October, then we can safely say, I believe. Right?
Certainly.
Yeah, because tomorrow's the beginning of October. September already gone. Yeah. So let's talk about the business license. You made a presentation to Parliament about a week or 2 ago. In a nutshell, in synopsis, of course we know there are a number of reserve categories, restricted categories as well, and now it's beefed up. I at one point I think I saw 60%, and I think I saw something 100%. Can you tell us more or less a summary of the presentation that you made to the House of Assembly, how it all started? I mean, I know when you were Minister of Finance, I went to one of the consultations.
The town hall meetings,
Yeah, town hall meetings.
Yeah, where it started, it was started all the way back when I was Minister of Finance, maybe 2022. I was having a conversation with the AG And it wasn't a conversation about the business licensing. It was just because when we talked about Turks and Caicos Islander business, I was under the assumption that it was a business that was 100% owned by Turks and Caicos Islanders. And the Attorney General, Honorable Rhonda Lee Brathwaite Knowles, had said to me, a Turks and Caicos Island business is really just a business that's 51% majority Jews. And I might have been working on something, because there's a few things as Minister of Finance I worked on, including the business, including the investment policy for Invest TCI and a number of things. And you're talking about foreign direct investment and domestic direct investment. So it popped up, Turks and Caicos Island business, in one of those. And so when she said that, I decided that I would, so I asked her to send me a copy of the business licensing ordinance and to go through it and see how we can strengthen it. Our government policy law, one of the things we ran on last term was that we would make lives better for Turks and Caicos Islanders and create opportunities for them. And so this was going along with that. And so when I went through it, one of the things I saw was that there are 3 different categories of business categories. So there's the
3? Okay.
Well, there's, in the sense that there's a reserve, there's restricted, and there's the open.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yes, I understand.
So that's what I meant. So obviously restricted would be things that you just can't apply for unless you get cabinet approval. So those would be things like land mining, for instance. So you can't just go out there and get a license for it. Cabinet would have to specifically approve it. So it's restricted for everyone. And then there's the reserve categories. So the reserve category is around for reserve for Turks and Caicos Island businesses, which means 51% Turks and Caicos Island business
minimum.
And then there's the open. Minimum, yes. And so one of the things I said was, okay, first of all, let's look at businesses that are in the open category that anyone can apply for, that we think should be reserved for Turks and Caicos Islanders. And so that's one of the things I went through and then decided, okay, over here, I think we can do this now, because you remember when these bills were first created, the Turks and Caicos wasn't the way it is today. And there might have been some things that we probably thought that Turks and Caicos Islands may not be interested in. We may not have the expertise. We may not have the capital. But it's low enough now where we can get into it. So they either like, well, maybe we should move this to reserve, and maybe move this to reserve, and maybe move this to reserve. And then, when I was looking at the reserve category, I was saying that because for me, it was a little bit confusing of what's a Turks and Caicos Islands business. And I don't think because I don't think the average man on the street, at least for me, I thought.
You mean whether all the shareholders are?
Exactly. So I have businesses myself. We have partnerships with foreign entities, and that at 5149, it's very easy to have on paper someone owning that 51%, but the beneficial owner, or the person who has who have control, beneficial control over the business, can be easily changed, particularly when you're that close. And so, when I said that close, meaning that between 51 and 49, there's some things you can do around that basically give the minority shareholders beneficial control.
I mean, it shouldn't be that way, but in reality,
it
is happening. If you're the majority, you should be the majority.
I mean, you're an accountant. I mean, you know the things that you can do. And so one of the ideas that I had was that we could do 2 things. That we could create a brand new category, and my working name was Turks and Caicos Islander Plus, to say this is a category where Turks and Caicos Islanders have 100%.
Okay.
And then we move certain businesses into that.
So we'll have 4 categories.
And my proposal was that you'd have 4 categories. You'd have another category, yes. And then, or we take the current Turks and Caicos Islands main category, the reserve category, and for the Turks, because I'm talking now about the definition of Turks and Caicos Island business now, and raising it to a supermajority. So a supermajority, I think, I've seen different things, but I think it's around about 66%, somewhere around there. And from 51 to a higher amount. So, and that's what I was working on, and then I was removed from cabinet, and then someone else took it over. But it's a Ministry of Finance bill, so it's not my bill. It's a Ministry of Finance bill because the business licenses come.
Yeah, and you were Minister of Finance
come under Ministry of Finance. So that's the reason why I was leaving it. And the reason why I'm saying this is so it's really as the minister, as the Premier's bill, and so for the year that I was out of cabinet, and for the last couple of months, because it wasn't me who was working on it the last couple of months, the bill was being shaped, from different things, and so this is where we are. So when we got to the House, to Parliament, the Premier asked me to basically start the debate. But that's the gist of it. The gist of it that the bill is supposed to be a pro Turks and Caicos Island bill. How can we strengthen it to be able to help Turks and Caicos Islanders in the best way? And I think even though we stopped at the ministry, at the Committee of the Whole, because there are some things we want to plug and some things that the bill didn't capture that we feel it should capture, I think it's going to certainly help Turks and Caicos Islanders quite a bit.
So the bill wasn't pulled because you all got phone calls from certain individuals not to let the bill pass?
I don't think that's the case. They were honest.
I saw some comments.
Those are comments on the street. We did get phone calls and text messages, but a lot of them were all of them, well, not a lot, but all of the ones that I saw were saying, "Hey, great bill, but people can still get around it this way, and people can get around it that way," and they kind of.
So that's why it's deferred then.
So give an example, they were saying that someone was saying, "Wait a minute, nominee companies, like persons could have shares in a company and not know who the shareholders are because the company ordinance allow for you to have nominee companies, and so that can possibly be a loophole that the bill didn't capture." And so as we were getting those, and then someone came messaged me also and say, "Hey, wait a minute, a great bill, but you may have to look at the grandfathering clause because there's issues, there may be issues here." And so as we were getting them, and we're saying that normally you can go on the floor and make those amendment changes and change them on the floor. It was coming so quickly, like people saying, "What about this and what about that?" And there wasn't anything negative. It was actually saying, "How can we make the bill better?" The Premier had said, then maybe the best way is to just get to the Committee of the Whole, and then what we can do is that we will stop there, and then we can go back, because really the bill isn't passed, and the amendments in the bill isn't passed until you get to the Committee of the Whole, when they go through each line. And so now we can still go back and add things to the bill or tighten things up in the bill.
It doesn't have to go back to the Committee of the Whole after?
Well, no, because we haven't gone to the Committee of the Whole yet. We just started the Committee of the Whole. We haven't finished the Committee of the Whole. So that's what I'm saying. So if you're going to make major amendments, the best thing to do is to do it now.
Okay.
And when I say major amendments, meaning that you're going to make more than one or two ad hoc changes to it, it's best to do it now. So when we go to the Committee of the Whole and we start going through it line by line, this is where we go through it line by line.
So that's why the bill was pulled, because because of all the different texts and stuff that you receive. There's some changes that was overlooked that you need to incorporate.
The bill,
that's what you're saying.
I'm confident that the bill wasn't pulled. I'm confident that the Committee of the Whole was paused until the next time, so we can make any changes that we need to make to the bill to strengthen the bill.
Okay. So in the bill now, the Turks and Caicos...
the bill was never pulled. The bill is still there and on the House, ready to go through the Committee of the Whole. Yes.
It just hasn't been passed yet.
Yes.
So in the proposed bill, in the proposed amendment, we have currently a Turks and Caicos Island business is 51%.
In the current.
So in the proposed, how much is it?
The thing about it is that we're still debating exactly what the amount is. I can say. So the idea, I know that there were some persons who spoke to 100%.
Yeah.
And I spoke to
60.
Yeah, because that's exactly, because the thing about it is that there are some businesses that you certainly want Turks and Caicos Islanders to have. As a matter of fact, let's be frank. Every business, you would want Turks and Caicos Islanders to have 100% of it. Okay? So you would want to come to the Turks and Caicos, and every business in the Turks and Caicos Island, you want Turks and Caicos Islander owning 100% of it. The problem is that some of those businesses requires capital. A significant amount of capital. And so now the question comes down to how can I get that capital and be in the business? So that's where you have partnerships. So you start to go and say, well, I need capital. Someone has I have an investor. How can I bring that investor in? And that's when you start to, whether you sell shares or you created a company and the person acquires a certain amount of shares. And so that's so for instance, I know you have HLB as a partnership, and it may be slightly different, but let's just say it wasn't a partnership. Let's say HLB was actually a company, a proper company with shares and everything like that. And you wanted to start, and you wanted a global brand, which HLB is a global brand. You would have to contact HLB internationally and say, I want to bring your brand here, and I want to be co-owner of the business that licensing your brand. I mean, I know that I use HLB.
No, it's a good example,
but
because
let's just say
it's a good example. So in order for me to get HLB in Turks and Caicos, the HLB guy in the Bahamas, God rest his soul, Sophilus Galanis, he had to introduce me to HLB brand, and he was my partner.
And so they may come and say, okay, fine, you can have the HLB business in the Turks and Caicos, but all the businesses that we're in, we have 30% ownership of it, because they want to deal with terms of standards, they want to deal with the branding and the logo, and they want to make sure that you're not engaging and doing engagements, accounting engagements that may bring down the brand, tarnish the brand. So how do you do that? You can't really do that unless you have the flexibility in that sector to be able to take on partners. And so we can go on and on with that. So certainly there's some businesses that Turks and Caicos Islanders should say, listen, if it's possible, we figured it out already. The bar for capital requirements is low, but and we want Turks and Caicos Islanders to have 100% in that. And there are some businesses that we want Turks and Caicos Islanders to have the flexibility. I mean, let's say, take for instance my sector, telecommunications. Then it required millions of dollars to get into, and even now it will require millions of dollars to get into. And so the world is moving to satellite technology like Starlink. Let's just say I wanted to set up a business providing satellite services. I wouldn't have the capital to put satellites in space. I would have to partner with a satellite company, and it may not be Starlink, it may be something else. And then they would say, well, how are we going to require this? If you won't have access to our satellites, it may be $50 million up front. And so we may have to set up a company, and after that $50 million, we may have to go and say, okay, well, we're going to enter it in 50-50. As an example, you have 50%, I have 50%, you bring the capital, and I bring the marketing expertise and everything. So that's why it's not exactly at 100% right now.
So it sounds to me then we're going to have a fourth category. It sounds to me you will have certain businesses that's going to be 100%, and certain businesses will not be 100%.
I mean, I can't speak to the fourth category yet because it was a proposal of mine. I mean, the easiest way is to...
Because there are some businesses that I believe that can be 100%.
Well, I mean, I'm saying,
and there's some I believe that require partnership.
And I think that's the reason why the easiest thing was to balance. The easiest thing was to pick a certain amount higher than 51%,
like a threshold,
and then say, okay, this is the minimum. And I think that's where we have people here talking about the 60 or whatever. I think instead of creating a fourth category, the recommendation might have been, okay, let's pick a threshold higher than 51%, but that gives you the flexibility of bringing in partnerships.
The only thing is with that, right? The only thing with that, we can still have fronting. So I believe what the government should
even at 100%, you can still have fronting. That's the
reason
why
that's true, but
that's the reason why we're trying to have anti-fronting laws in place.
Like I believe if you have, say, like beauty salon, say like a barber shop and all that stuff, that definitely I think should be 100%.
No, I agree. I agree with you.
But if you have like, say, let's just say, I don't know if you need a hotel, but just say you have a supermarket. I believe we will need partnership. Large construction companies, we may need a partner, and I think it should be a true partnership, a true shareholder where the locals are contributing either 50 or 60%,
I agree.
rather than just putting it on name. Because what's going to happen, in my opinion, if we have 100% for everything, what's going to happen is those persons that acquire the Turks and Caicos Island status many years ago, who are well off, will be in a better position than the average Joe on the street who needs help.
Who needs capital.
And so those individuals will still have an unlevel playing field, because the rich people who got Turks and Caicos status will need a partner. Basically, they could do their own thing. But in mind, we have a lot of people who have Turks and Caicos status now. A lot of times people think, whenever you have Turks and Caicos Island, they just think of the indigenous. There's really no word called indigenous, but you know what I mean. But there are people who have Turks and Caicos Island status, who are Turks and Caicos Islanders. And so a lot of them have money. They will be able to benefit when there are some Turks and Caicos Islanders. An opportunity comes for them where they can have this large construction company or a big hotel or supermarket. They could get so much, but they need a partner because the bank might not give them the money. And I think they have to be very, very careful with that part.
No, I mean, think about assuming.
Because you don't want other people to be disadvantaged. We still have a separation in our country with the richest getting richer.
You certainly get it. The issue is that our financial sector isn't sophisticated enough, isn't mature enough yet, where we have angel and venture capitalists who would put money behind businesses. And the banks are the traditional banks. They want to lend against something that you could physically touch, you know, a car or a land or something like a house or whatever. You can't go to the banks and borrow a significant amount of money against for businesses. And so there are going to be times when you're going to need to, I mean, as a small country, and as a small developing country, you're going to need to bring capital in. And from the investor side of things, because I was having this debate with one of my colleagues from Parliament afterwards, because he basically said, oh, they can borrow the money, they can lend them the money. I mean, let's use an example.
It's easier said than done.
I know, but I mean, let's say an example. I mean, there's some people who would want to be in the business who won't want to lend the money because they're not in the business of lending, they're in the business of investing. You can't go to a VC and say, lend me money, because they're not banks. They want to invest, they want a good return on the investment. You know, if I wanted to build a data center now, an AI data center, so let's just say this was the new thing. I was young right now, I wanted to build an AI data center. It would be costing tens of millions of dollars. You know, it would be far more expensive than it would cost to launch a mobile phone company. So now let's just say I was able to meet the people from OpenAI and Oracle and NVIDIA and those. They're going to want to partner with me. They're going to want to partner. And of course they'll say this there. We've got all of this. We're going to put in, you know, the $20-30 million that'll take to build a data center, but we want to partner in it. And there's no way I can say, well, no, I can't. I don't want you to be a partner in it. I want you to lend me the money. They're not going to want it. They're going to want to be able to have some say in it, about the marketing, everything around it. And so it gives you some flexibility. Yeah. I know, but some people are going to say, oh, yes, everything should be 100%. But then you get there and you find the knock-on effect is that you can't raise capital. Yeah. And so that's what.
I mean, I do think that some businesses should be 100, and I think that's why you have to be I think you should have some at 100, but there's some that it's going to be very disadvantaged to some terms. If it is, because
you're correct. You're correct. And also too, it's even if you have you have businesses at 100%, and I believe exactly what you're saying. That's the reason why I recommended having a fourth category. The only, because every time you look at something, you say, what are the pros and cons of it? The only downside to it is that if you are very successful, if you created the business and you're very, very successful, and the business grows. So let's just say you took a business that you own 100%, you put in $1 million. For you, that's nothing. But let's say you put in $1 million, and that business grows to 20 million, and you want to sell it, or you want to cash out a portion of it. It becomes more difficult because the value of the businesses could be surpassed with the average Turks and Caicos Islander can do it. So it makes it very difficult for you to exit, or even reduce your shareholdings.
You know what? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's
what I recommend to all Turks and Caicos Islanders, is that we have to be very careful when we become shareholders in the business. And I've said this on the show before. Don't just become a name only. If say the business goes $250,000, just say, right? Let's say 200,000. I'll say 100,000. Make my math easier. So in the Turks and Caicos, just say right now it's 51%. I think that Turks and Caicos Islanders should put $51,000 into that business.
I agree.
But we're not doing it. We just put some of us are not doing it. We're just putting our 51% on paper. And so so there's a separate agreement on the side where the person who contributed 49% is technically the majority, because they put. So what I always tell people, if the person is putting more money into the business, then still have the person be a shareholder, but treat the money that they put into the business as a loan.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing about this. And I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I can tell you, years ago, there's a company in the United States called DreamWorks SKG.
DreamWorks. What kind of company?
It was a movie company.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
but
okay.
it did a lot of stuff with animation, competing with Pixar, and so the SKG meant Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Griffin. So Steven Spielberg, David Griffin, and I forget what the first name was of Katzenberg, and two of the partners were very wealthy, and one of them, well, all three of them had movie and film experience, and one of them, I believe might have been David Griffin, but it certainly wasn't Spielberg. So it was either David Griffin or Katzenberg, but I believe it was David Griffin, who got loaned the money from his partners for his shares, and he ran the company. And so however they did it, through dividends or profits sharing or whatever, he paid his partners off. So whichever the third one was who didn't have the money to put into it, start the company, he borrowed it from his partners.
Okay.
And so it's not uncommon, and this is one of the same thing that I was saying when we co-founded Digicel, is that it's not uncommon for a big, very wealthy partner to finance a business, but one of the other partners bring what they call sweat equity, and you bring in your expertise and everything, and then you pay your partners off.
Yeah.
So it's okay to do that. It's okay not to be able to have the 51% and to be able to allow your partner to pay it. What is not okay is the off-the-book agreements, side agreements that are done to hurt the minority shareholder. Okay, or the person who's doing the borrowing.
Because you're saying one thing on paper,
so,
you're saying one thing with the registry, but then in reality it's something else.
So that's what the problem is. And so what we need is that we need minority shareholder rights, strong minority shareholder rights, to be able to go and say, wait a minute, this shareholders agreement or this loan agreement isn't fair. It doesn't meet the spirit of the agreement. But that's where the problem.
So when you say minority shareholders, but technically aren't they majority?
Well, I'm saying the person who gets the loan, let me change it. That person is now treated like the minority then. Let me change it then. Okay, let's just say you had 60% and you went and borrowed the capital. That person is then treated differently because the person who has beneficial control is the person who has the loan over that person. So let me change it then and say this. When you get the loan, it should be almost on the terms as if you're getting it from a bank. Okay, but what's been happening is that the person, sometimes you have the lender saying, I want to control the business, but the belonger now is holding these shares or however the partnership is, and I'm going to lend them the money to put into the business, and I want the side agreement to make sure where they get a little something, but I get to control, and I want to hurt. I don't say hurt this person, but it ends up where you're hurting the borrower. Yeah. And so we need, let's put it like this. Let me change it then. We need protection for those borrowers who may be borrowing from the partnership. And we should have, and I believe that the government through some entity should be able to have lawyers, whether the lawyers are working pro bono or whatever, who are able to help out and give their time to looking over shareholder agreements and loan agreements for Turks and Caicos Islanders who are borrowers for their businesses, to come and be able to say, hey, because most times these persons are millionaires, they've got lawyers all over the world. These lawyers are well paid. They're going to look for every I and cross every T to protect the lender. And so all of a sudden you just read the agreement, you go, wow, I've had this great idea all my life. I'm part of this partnership. My idea's coming to fruition. I've got a person, an investor partner who's willing to put up the money. You're signing it thinking that all is well. A couple of years later, they go and say, well, this is what the agreement said. So I do think that the government should have a policy where particularly all of our young, smart lawyers can give a time, sometime every Saturday or whatever, where you could come in and say, listen, I've got this agreement. This is the draft agreement. I hasn't signed this yet. Can you help me look through this and give me your feedback?
I do think the Bar Association, I think they do hold some service. I mean, they do provide free services on some Saturdays in the month. I don't remember when, but they do.
Well, I've never heard of it being marketed that way.
Okay.
You know? I mean, it's usually, in my mind, it's usually persons who have criminal issues around.
Oh, I don't know, but I know they do.
But I would recommend that they do. Then I apologize for not knowing about it. And if they don't, I would encourage them to do it. Where business persons, particularly young business persons, would come and say, "This Shield agreement was given to me. I don't really understand it. Tell me what you think. This is a loan agreement because I'm going to borrow money from the deep-pocketed partner for my shares. Here's the terms and which to be able to pay it off." And then they could go to persons like yourself, HLB, and say, "Okay, here's the terms. What would I need to pay every year, or whatever? What's simple interest, compounded? What is this? Is this interest rate of 10%? Is that fair? Is it 6%? Is that fair?" Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then persons like yourself can then give them valuable feedback to ensure that they're not taken advantage of.
Yeah, and I also think that I would encourage us. We need to think big as well. I know we have a lot of small businesses which eventually grow into big businesses, but I know a lot of you are thinking you have great ideas, and sometimes you are afraid to take the risk, and you don't have the money. And that's why it's important that whatever legislation is put in place, it doesn't restrict people from thinking big. They say, "Oh, I can't afford this. I can't do this. I don't have the money." And then they give up on their dream. I mean, anything is possible. I believe most people just need the money. And so we have to be very careful, how we do it. I also want to throw out there too, to all people watching the show. I know there's a lot of concern. Let me just, and as it's beginning to show, the Turks and Caicos Island status is more than EJ and I. Many people have Turks and Caicos Island status. I saw, the comment by one of the former premiers. We mentioned Grace Bay Boys. I don't like the term Grace Bay Boys, but I will tell you this: that those individuals also have Turks and Caicos Island status. They have Turks and Caicos Island status, and so this bill might benefit them more because they may have money than what we do. So I just want to throw that out there, okay? Because they have the money.
I agree with it. I think the thing about it too is that the term Grace Bay Boys is basically coming out of what they could use in the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas,
called the Bay Street Boys. Okay. And I think that term now is used in a way to create emotions, to stir up emotions in Turks and Caicos Islanders. And so I think that's why they go and say, well, the Grace Bay Boys did this. The Grace Bay Boy did this. And then people get stirred up, and it may not even be any issue with them.
Yeah.
So I'm not defending them or whatever. I just think that I think a lot of times we throw it around when we want to stir up emotions.
Yeah, and most of those developers, they have Turks and Caicos status. They have Turks and Caicos status, and that's something we have to remember. They have Turks and Caicos status. So they will benefit a lot from the bill because they will need any partner.
But the thing about it is that Drexel too is that what the public should remember though, bills in the House, bills in Parliament, we would say it's not static, it's a living, breathing document. So what do we mean by that? Is that they can be changed. And so whatever number it is that we choose for this and this bill, and any other bills, we can start off with something and then go, wait a minute, this is not working, or it's not working as fast as we want, and we can make adjustments. And I said that during my speech for something else when I was Minister of Finance. And I said, bills are living, breathing documents. In fact, is that we don't have to get it perfect the first time. We can get it, we could do something today and think, wait a minute, this is not exactly the outcome that we want, or it's not moving as fast as we want, or it's doing well, now we think we can strengthen it and we can go back there and change it. So I don't want people to go and think, wait a minute, this thing is passed and we're going to be locked into this forever. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
We pass something at any time. Again, it's not just this bill. Anything that we pass, if we find out that there's a need to change it, we can always go back. And we can always go back and change it.
Now you mentioned also that you received texts about grandfathering. I don't know if you can tell us more about that, but I know when the real estate, the brokers bill amendments was done. I didn't think, in 2003 when it was presented, I think they had grandfathered. And then that's when all the mic was the thing. And then when you guys presented again, I think you had given existing brokers 12 months to level themselves, or if they're not Turks and Caicos Island, they can't continue. That's my understanding from the brokers thing, that they only were given 12 months. So,
I think people who were licensed to sell was given 12 months.
But if they're not a Turks and Caicos Island, they cannot continue after 12 months. That's my understanding.
But I didn't think it was about the owners of the people who had ownership, but of the business.
The brokers.
Yeah, but it wasn't around. I think you're talking about grandfathering in someone who's been working in the industry versus someone who owns investment.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that I think I saw a comment by Honorable Jamal mention that existing businesses will be grandfathered in.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is, when your real estate amendment was passed, you give them 12 months.
No, we didn't give.
So we couldn't give them 12 months.
No, we didn't give the business in the real estate people who had ownership and.
Oh, okay. Because I was saying you could give someone 12 months rather than grandfathering.
Well, the thing about it is this: the way the law is, and I think the law is fair, a bit fair on this, but the recommendation is that you have to grandfather in, because the idea is this: if someone owns a business,
they already invest so much.
Well, I mean, it's just not a matter of invest so much. The fact is that someone owns a business, you allow them to come here legally, they make an investment, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and say you have 12 months to sell it. To sell it. Okay. And I try explaining this to even in my household, is that if someone legitimately came here and created a business, and they've been here for a number of years, they didn't become a Turks and Caicos Islander, but they made the investment, the business is going well, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and say, listen, you have a restaurant, that restaurant is worth $12 million. I'm just picking a figure, and we don't really care now. We're going to give you 12 months. You have to find out how you're going to sell it off.
I understand.
And so I don't know. I mean, think about it. I don't want to say it may not be legally right, because I guess you can go around and change the laws. The question is that morally right to do that?
Yeah.
So the idea is to say, well, okay, Drexel came here. He set up his business. His business is doing well. He's been here for a while, so we're going to grandfather him in.
Okay.
We don't want any other persons being able to come in from abroad and foreigners to come abroad and set up business in that category, because it's now reserved for Turks and Caicos Islands. But we're not going to force Drexel to sell his business, and so that's why.
Yeah. But I think that would only be if we had said 100%. If it's 60%, then I think people might be okay.
Well, I mean, whatever the number is, you can still turn around and say the person has to sell that amount of shares. But I'm saying, so that's where the grandfathering in came down, is to say if someone legitimately set up a business, and I'm stressing legitimately, because we're not talking about a person who fraudulently set up a business and then you grandfather them in. And I'm saying that because a lawyer raised it to say, the businesses that might have gotten their business license fraudulently, because they may have someone fronting for them and everything, and you can't grandfather those in. So anything that was fraudulent is fraudulent. We'll treat it as fraudulent, and you're not going to get the benefits. But I mean, the idea is that you grandfather the businesses that were already established.
Oh, okay. All right. So when can the people expect this continuation of this bill in Parliament?
Again, it's not my bill in the sense the bill of the Premier. I know that the last time I spoke with him, it was in conversation that we were aiming to bring it back in October. My recommendation, and I haven't told him this recommendation, as my recommendation would be to make sure we get everything in instead of trying to be tied to a time. I don't want to speak for him. I don't want to go out there, but I don't want to go there and say, hey, it's going to be there next week, and then we realize some things. I would take a few weeks to get it properly and keep the public updated, so the public doesn't think it's going away. And let the public know this wasn't something where anyone came and says, you guys have to do this, and then all of a sudden we go down the road and say, we're going to stop it because we're trying to pull a fast one on the public. This is our bill. Like I said, it started when I was Minister of Finance, but I'm part of a collective. This is our government's bill. We picked it up. We picked it up and started strengthening it. So it wasn't like something was holding over our head and we were afraid to strengthen it. We strengthened it. We picked it up. We said it certainly was okay, but we wanted to make sure that it was to benefit Turks and Caicos Islanders. We made a bill even today. If we pass it today, it would be a bill that would be more strengthened, more pro-Turks and Caicos Islander than it was before we pass it. But we're looking at how we can strengthen it even more, and then make some tweaks, as we said, to make sure that it gives Turks and Caicos Islanders the best opportunity to be able to own in some businesses 100% and be able to raise capital if need be. And whatever that number is going to try to find the balance between those two things. And like I said, if we come during a time and realize it's too restrictive, we will loosen it. If we find it's not restrictive enough, we will go back and tighten it. But it's a bill that will promote Turks and Caicos Islanders and strengthen Turks and Caicos Islanders' ability to be able to become entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs, more so than they were able to do before this bill's going to get passed. So I don't want people thinking that somehow something happened and then they didn't get the bill, they got a 6 for a 9. This bill is, even in its current form, is better than the bill that's there now. And so we will whatever we deliver will be an improvement on what's there, and we're going to keep tweaking it and making it better.
Okay. So someone I just reading the comment. Thank you, Honorable Sanders, Honorable Taylor. Oh, okay. Rachel, for the initiative of the courses program. You're just saying thank you?
Yes.
Okay. And then someone asks, I'm not sure I understand this too clearly, but I'll repeat the question. What about the lender, a partner, doing a deal where the TCI owns the working public company, but all of the hard items, chairs, etc., have to be rented from the lender's company, which should mean that the lender is only a 49% shareholder, but getting the extra monies from the rentals of the jointly owned business. Do you understand what
I get what they're saying.
Okay.
And I know what they're saying. And they're saying, what about this? But the truth, that person is in that type of deal right now, or they know someone that's in that deal right now. And so that's that's a cry for help, where someone is saying, I'm in a situation, or I know someone in this situation, and what do you think about this? And so what they're basically saying is this. The person who, the foreign partner, is renting the equipment to the partnership and charging them a lot of money. And what do you think about that? So basically, let's say you're the foreign partner, and we have this business going on, and we set up a production studio, and the studio 70 person goes, I'm not going to put the equipment into the business. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rent the equipment to the business, and so they're pulling out. So the business has a higher OPEX cost for the rental of the equipment, but that money is going straight into the partner, into the pocket of the partner. And so the partner is creaming off the top, and then what's left, they have a split of the profits.
So the partner has a separate company.
They've already pulled it off. And what do you do with me is this person? That's a conflict of interest. Okay, that's a conflict of interest. If the person is bringing the partner is bringing the equipment and putting it into the business, that's part of their equity and their investment to the business. If they're renting the equipment from you, from the business, then they can't be the person to make the decision on you renting it from them and what price. You should, whoever it is, that person, let's just say you have a board of directors, that person should excuse themselves, declare a conflict, and then put in a bid to say, I've got equipment, I've got studio equipment, I can rent it to the company for this price. And then you should also get quotes from other people. And if it's a quote that you feel, wait a minute, I can't do better than this. This is a great deal. But that person can't be the person making that decision.
It shouldn't.
That person can't be the person making that decision. And then independently, people have to say, you know what, that's a good deal. Let's rent it from this person because you're getting it at market rates. But if a partner came in and was renting me television cameras, and I realized, wait a minute, Greg had rented to me, to the business, at 25% cheaper. You guys then should go to Greg.
Or purchase, or have the company purchase it.
Exactly. So you can, and that's exactly what I was talking about, how sometimes the lender would go in and say, well, I'm only going to lend the money unless you get it under these terms. And the terms is that I'm going to then rent you the equipment or lease you the equipment. That's them creaming money off the top of it. That's them hurting you. That's them taking money out of the business because they needed to lend you the money. So I know that's a cry for help, but that's a conflict of interest. If the person demanded and made that a requirement for you, for the business to rent their thing, they need to, if there's only two partners, you and them, they need to allow you to make the decision whether or not you want to continue renting those items from them or you want to source other material. So that's my advice.
Yeah, so basically the partner is making more money, especially
exactly.
paying so much for the rental.
And if you do that well enough, you can make the business lose money and then come back and say, well, the business has lost money. I have to put more money into the business. Rental. And then you have to put in money. So that's the issue.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But I think we're wrapping up our time. Anything else you want to share with the public? But I don't know how this worked. I really think you all should consider a fourth category. That's my personal opinion. I mean, but I don't know. Well, I know you say you're not the minister responsible for that, but I think we should have two sets of categories.
I think we will end up with another category. It doesn't mean that we're going to get it through this time. I think the thing about is this. This is something that I did, and the premier allowed me to do it, so I certainly believe that we share the same view on these things. But if given enough time, we're going to go through all of the laws, all of the bills and everything to make sure that, and I said it during the House, the goal is to make sure that they're fit for purpose, make sure that they're modern, make sure that they are pro Turks and Caicos Island. And so bills like this we will pick up and we're going to look at it and we're going to strengthen it. And I don't want to speak for the premier, but I think conservatively it's probably better to start with something and incrementally improve it than to tighten it up. I mean, but like this, I just thought of an example years ago. I got some, and Greg in the studio would probably laugh at that. I got some speakers and amplify and everything. That's when people used to be using rackets and everything. And I was like, boy, these speakers are really good. Let me see how hard these speakers could be. And I turned the volume all the way up. And I put it on, the music on, and it blew the speakers because I turned it up too high. And I was told that it's better to turn it up gradually. You know, if it can go to 20, go from 1 to 2 to 3 while you're playing the music to see how high it can get. But I wanted to turn it, I cranked it all the way up. So if you think of the bill that way, it's probably better to find a nice midpoint wherever it is, and then as we see that we can strengthen it, start to dial it up gradually, then turning it all the way up, and then we find 2-3 years from now a person's kind of raise capital, and then we have to go back and then dial it down. So I think we find I would advocate having a fourth category, but I think another way is also picking a good midpoint. We are Turks and Caicos Islanders. We're happy with it. We could start to do it, and we look at it in a year, and if we feel that we need to move it, we dial it up a little bit, and then we dial it up into the point where we get to the point where the economy, well, a lot of Turks and Caicos Islanders, there's a lot of capital in the Turks and Caicos Islanders, cheap capital that Turks and Caicos Islander entrepreneurs can get access to continue the businesses.
Yeah, and I know you said even at 100%, you could have fronting, but I'm not sure if the intent of the bill was to avoid fronting, because even you put 60, put 70, put 80, fronting still could take place.
Yeah, we
You're
have
saying 100. When you tell me about
100%.
100%, if you're 100%, how will fronting take place?
Well, I mean, fronting will take place by simply the fact is that someone will apply for the business. They'll put it on paper that they
So still something
that
on the side.
that they have 100%, and then they'll say they'll take money in terms of a monthly payment. It's not very difficult for someone to go and say, and I'm just going to use him as an example. It's not very difficult for Elon Musk to come and say, listen, I can't get a satellite license in the Turks and Caicos. Now, for everyone, I mean, if I wasn't in government, I'm just using this. I don't want to say that I was, but let's just say I wasn't in government. I was still in telco entrepreneur, and Elon Musk came and said, listen, we can't get a license in the Turks and Caicos, and it has to be 100% Turks and Caicos Islander. We're going to create a business, Starlink TCI. You're going to be the 100% partner. But what we're going to do is we're going to give you $10,000 a month. and we'll have operational overview of the company, do all the marketing and everything, and we'll pay you $10,000 a month for that. Like, wow, $10,000 a month, $120,000. I don't have to do anything. And so I don't care about profits. I don't care, because so you don't have to worry if it makes a loss. It's not going to have to come affect you, because that's how they'll come and say it. So you don't have to worry, because this is a capital intensive business. We're going to put in all the capital, and if it makes a loss, it will never hit you, and you're guaranteed $10,000 a month. Some people take that.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do anything, and they go to bed at night time. They go, I own Starlink TCI. But in truth of the matter is that company could be making tens of millions of dollars profit. You're getting your $10,000 a month, and you don't really care. What is that? That's fronting, because you don't really have control of the business. You don't have beneficial control of the business. And so we need a mechanism to say, hey, wake up. This business is making $1 million a month. It's getting $12 million profit a year, and you're only getting $120,000. And you are just the cost of doing business, and the Turks and Caicos on the books. You don't even know what's going on. So that's how you can easily have someone with 100% and still be fronting. And so we need. I don't want to say laws, but we need a mechanism that basically says to the Turks and Caicos Island person, hey, you may have more value.
Wait, just 1 minute. I understand there's no audio? No audio? All right, just continue.
Yeah, and so we need mechanisms in place so we could say, hey, Turks and Caicos Island entrepreneur, there's more value in that company, and you shouldn't just be settling for $10,000 a month in salary. Stipend or whatever while the business is doing well.
So do you think that, speaking about that then, do you think that in addition to having it, having a registered shareholders and stuff on paper, do you think there should be a mechanism in place where we have other evidence that you own the majority shares, maybe through financial statements, or people can even make up financial statements as well?
I mean, yes, I think we should have strict laws around people.
Because you can make up, people can lie about financials.
No, but I think we should have strict laws around that. I think we should, because for instance, if we ever rolled out a tax, like a value-added service tax or whatever, and those sorts of things, you would need to see the proper financial statements.
Yeah.
You can't have people making up financial statements. You'd need to see the proper financial statements. But I think we should have a mechanism where first of all, we have to put laws in place that basically say the professional services companies, that's the law firms and the accounting firms, can't be making up stuff off the books to circumvent
It's
the law.
unethical, really.
So, it is unethical, but the thing about it is that we should have, I truly believe, I've seen enough of it, where we should have laws in place that penalize professional services firms because these things, you guys have to be taking ethics courses and oaths and all those sorts of things, and so the belief is that if something comes from Drexel Seymour, who's an accountant, and if you sign off on something, that they would take it at a higher value, the courts would take it at a higher value if you wrote something than if I wrote it, because they're saying you took a certain oaths and stuff like that, and pledges relating to your field to say that it's going to, anything you produce as an accountant, particularly as an auditor, is correct. So you can't just be making up stuff. So I think there should be certainly penalties around things where if we got accounting records from a qualified accountant that we found out to be that they're doctored, that they should be penalized for it. And I think the same thing to go for lawyers. If we find out that the lawyers somehow created agreements that tried to get around the law, I think they should be penalized.
There must be a way, because it's very tempting to front, but there must be other ways and means that we must show evidence that you are truly the real majority shareholder of this company. It must be more than just registering with FSC.
Listen, I've seen evidence where lawyers have actually said to people, you want to get around it, this is how you get around it. And they may go and say, well, our job is paid to get the outcome for our client, and we did it in a legal way. And my thing is that you know what you did. Like if you do those things, you're trying to get around the law. And if it's found out, you should get penalized, or you should be telling your client that's breaking the law. And while there may be a loophole that you can get around it, if it's found out, it's going to be worse than just abiding by the law. And so if you're required to have a Turks and Caicos Island partner, and that's what you signed up to, it's going to be, and I would be telling them about lawyer, it's going to be very risky trying to do something to change that. Because if it's found out, you're going to get into trouble and I'm going to get into trouble. And I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. I mean, you have anything else?
No, that, I mean,
That's you.
Yeah, but
I think the best thing to do is be honest in everything you do. Honesty pays off. And I want to encourage Turks and Caicos Islanders, you know, even before this amendment, quite frankly, we have a significant amount of business categories that's under reserve, even before the amendment. And so I understand there's going to be even more. But I'm just saying that we have to take the risk and open a business. It's nice to have this in paper that we have all the reserve categories. But if you're not doing anything about it, then what's the point of having it really? I mean, so you need to make sure you take this opportunity and start that business. And I want to encourage the government as well to be very careful on what they present to Parliament, because at the end of the day, you don't want an unlevel playing field in this country. You don't want the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Be very, very careful what they present to Parliament with this business license amendment. Make sure that there's an opportunity for growth for people in this country. Make sure there's an opportunity for growth for Turks and Caicos Islands to be able to start a business, to pursue their dream that they want to do, you know. And so we have to be very, very careful. Sometimes things look very, very good on paper. Sometimes we make decisions on emotions. Let's make sure we do the right thing, that everybody benefits properly, and that people are able to get into business, they have access to the financing, and they can become well off with their business. They don't have to be working 2 and 3 jobs. They can focus on that area that they're passionate about and become a successful business owner. I believe it's possible. We have to be very strong that we do not restrict growth. With that said, thank you for watching Financially Speaking. Stay tuned next week for another new segment of Financially Speaking. You sure you don't have anything else to say?
well, I just want to thank you for having me on the show, Drax, and to be able to speak to the business licensing bill. I want the public to know that this is a pro-Turks and Caicos Island bill. We have our job as parliamentarians and cabinet is to ensure that we give you the tools to be able to live your best lives. And so we may have information that the general public don't have that allow us to make certain decisions, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a right to know why we came to that decision. And so whatever the outcome of the bill is when we pass it, if you have questions, if you still have questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll try to explain it to you. But like I said, these are living, breathing documents. If we don't get it right the first time, we always have the ability to go back there and change it and make the tweaks. So I look forward to continuing to support you and being your representative, and I would like to ask that God continue to bless you and your family and our beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands.
The Nation's Nation, RTC. The Nation's Nation, RTC.
Who's calling it? Who? Yeah. OVO Sound 2025.